Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. Sarah Al-Badwi joining me, Andy Serling, on a Friday, a little bit chilly. I think it's warmer outside than it is inside here. I don't know how that's possible. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. A little bit cold. Glad I kept the jacket on for today. But other than that, pretty good day so far.
But not raining, and given the expected roughly 3 inches of rain between tomorrow and Sunday, that's a good thing. So we'll be on the turf today. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe at least we can hopefully get the stake in tomorrow. But it does appear to have some rainy weather, but that's the way it goes when you race outdoors. Head over to Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, use the promo code Derby25. Is that our voices echoing?
It is. I hear us way out
Really
at yonder.
annoying. It's really annoying. Somebody could turn the sound off up here in Equestris. Because we're the only ones up here anyway. And Travis. I don't want to.
And the pigeon up there.
They're not pigeons, actually. They're real birds. Regular birds. No,
Are
we've
any
had
birds
that
real?
discussion because Acacia's afraid of pigeons, but
it's not
she's
a fear.
okay with those birds.
Okay.
And they're cold too. So you get a free $25 bet plus a $200 sign-up bonus, promo code Derby25. Obviously, you got about 8 days left for that as we will be running the Derby a week from tomorrow. And here comes that music again. Well, we got a $15 bonus if you opt in and you bet 75 or more at Aqueduct in Keeneland. It's closing day at Keeneland. Thinking of betting on Warlike Goddess maybe today at about 1 to 5.
With your $15
Forward to
bonus?
seeing her come back. Yeah, I've not played a lot of Keeneland this year. It's hard. It's very hard, and I think to have a shot at Keeneland, you got to do a lot of work, and I don't have the time. I don't know about you, but it's very, very tough there. We have interesting but tough. What else do we have? We have the contest. You have until 5 o'clock today. $300 buy-in, cash and seat prizes. Go to naira.com/contests. And last but not least, 1 to 6, covering the action from here and Oaklawn Park on FS2, Fox Sports 2. We start out with a maiden race in the first race here. And a maiden race where I didn't even have any replays. You have Valentina on top.
I do, and I was a little surprised that David actually made her 9 to 5. Now, I know we have a tremendous respect for his opinion, and he does such a great job with the morning line, but at the current price, I'm obviously a little bit more interested in her.
What
She's
price do you think she'd be?
around 2, 3 to 1.
No, I thought she'd be about even money, but who exactly are they going to bet if not her?
Well, currently they're going to your top pick.
There's
with
about
the
$8
drop-down.
in the win pool. Let's not make too much of the odds at noon.
I'm just wishful
I
thinking
know that
out
you're,
here,
you know,
okay?
you're just starting out here, but the money bet in the pools right now is fairly irrelevant.
I'm just overly optimistic about this price. I mean, this is one that showed some speed on debut, and I just don't think that she really cared for the kickback last time running on that sloppy sealed track, kind of climbing early and not really making up much ground. Now getting over to a surface that is rated fast today, correct? With no rain. So, I mean, she's going to be
You
on
think
this.
they dumped a lot of water on it? It's like long
Just
shop on
double-checking.
an arc day or
You
something?
never know what goes on around here with the strange weather. For her, I think that she could just be more forwardly placed and getting a little bit of class relief as well.
Okay, she's obviously the horse to beat. I have no argument with you. I expect her to be a short price. And I think she probably should be a short price because we don't know about the first-time starters. Obviously, you've got Rob Atras, who's live with first-time starters on the rail. Could be dangerous. But you look 4, 5, 6, 7, and it's hard to see them taking very much play in this race. I found an interesting stat for Rudy Rodriguez, and I think a lot of people realize that starting at Saratoga, his numbers had dropped precipitously, and they have not picked up, and he's currently 0 for the meet unless he won a race yesterday, which is sort of interesting. And I found this stat for Rudy. Maiden special weight to maiden claimers on the dirt over the last 9, no, that's 9 months, guys. 9 months. That's why I wrote 9 months at the bottom. So it's supposed to be 9 months. So let's take it down because we don't want it to confuse people that aren't looking, that aren't listening. Over the last 9 months, he has run 17 horses from maiden special to maiden claimer, which in and of itself is sort of amazing. And while 7 hit the board, none of them won, and 11 of those 17 were short prices. I thought that was pretty interesting. I have no argument with her. She is the horse to beat in this race. Maybe the one will get it done. She's after one horse that didn't do any running. Rob Atras has had some good numbers with horses coming off with first-time starters. But I'm going to take Dolce Sarah, and not just because it's almost spelled like your name, though that
I know
may
you
have
wouldn't
come
do
into
that for
play.
me.
Well, I mean, this horse ran against Randomized last time, who looks very, very good. And the race 2 back against Warlike Eagles makes her tough to beat. She's not going to be the favorite in this race. She's going to be second choice, I would assume. And I don't know. I know she looks ugly, but you look at her last 2 races, and they kind of make her the horse to beat. So I'll take her. Figure she'd be a better price than she should be because of connections.
They really protected her for a long period of time, too, not wanting to sacrifice her for the tag and for this low of a tag. So I think that's worth mentioning. But for me, I just don't love horses that have had plenty of chances, even though this is the least quality field she's faced.
Believe me, I'm on the same boat as you. I just don't know where else to go. And
Fair
unless
enough.
I'm going to pick the Rob Actress Firster, which maybe isn't the wrong idea, I'm going to pick Dolce Sarah in here. Race number 2, we're on the turf. Then we'll take a look at Moonage Daydream. Where does this name come? Is this a song? Is it David Bowie? It's a David Bowie related thing.
Yeah,
What is it?
you're asking the wrong person.
But I know there's a movie, Moonage Daydream. It's definitely a David Bowie related thing. A lot of them around, with Thin White Duke around. This is the race 2 back where this horse rode a gold rail. And actually, it's the same gold rail that Vacation Dance rode yesterday and didn't come back and run particularly well. She's okay, but I don't know.
I mean, with her, the stretch out last time out and the Here Comes the Bride, I think that she just doesn't want to go that far. And that was a decent field won by Dance Macabre. And Jorge Abreu, who is just 1 for 45, sprints to routes on turf, with Runaway Rumor being that one. He has much better numbers on the cutback on that surface. He's 5 for 32, 16% with a $2.08 ROI over the past 5 years. A horse with some early speed. We know that that plays well on our turf courses generally, although there has been more aggression lately on the turf in general. But I just thought that she made a lot of sense going to be forwardly placed, and I think that she just would appreciate a little bit less ground to work with.
Yeah, I don't know if she's as fast as Patria or maybe even Starship Lauban, who's trying the turf for the first time. I guess some of it will come down to how she's ridden, but they'll have to be aggressive. I hear what you're saying about her last race, but I don't think too many people think of Danse Macabre as a router. And she was sitting right on top of this ridiculous dawdling pace, and she still won the race. And Moonage Daydream just completely fell apart, bad stats or not. She's okay. I don't know. I'm going to take Derry Nane, and we'll show Road to Remember running second. I think Road to Remember is a major player here coming off the layoff for Talia Lynch, and Derry Nane finishing 4th. And there is a very, very good argument that Derry Nane was a good 2-year-old that ran once well as a 3-year-old and just never really panned out. And she's just not a good horse anymore. And I have no argument with that argument. But there's another argument that she's a better horse than these horses. And coming off the layoff for Christophe, she's found herself in the right field, and I think she's just going to run well in here. I decided to go with, I'm hopeful that she can refine that once good form, because I don't really like Moonage Daydream, who I have 3rd. I think she can win. I think Road to Remember is fine in here. When Patria won, I think she was very much taking advantage of the nature of the course that day. And I'm not even sure she's going to get the lead from Starship Lauban or even potentially Moonage Daydream, which, by the way, is a Bowie song. Acacia is so bored, she keeps texting me.
Oh, that's nice of her.
Really, Acacia, don't you have anything better to do? So I'm going to hope that Derry Nane can wake up and find that once good form. But I have no argument with somebody who wants to say, she sucked, basically, for most of her 3-year-old year. She's a massive disappointment. I was a big fan of hers, and she was a massive disappointment.
And that's kind of why I have her a little bit further down, though she should get a decent trip in here. I just don't love that she was winless in those starts as a 3-year-old. The precocity shown as a 2-year-old hasn't really gone on since there, but she was in tough spots as a 3-year-old, and perhaps you're just hoping that this is the right field for her and she gets back to some of that form.
I'm praying for that.
You've laid it all out as far as your many arguments for her.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And we'll see what prices they are. I think at the end of the day, you have to look at the price here, because Road to Remember, I think, is a major player. I like her a lot more than you do in this race. You've got Patria second.
I do, just thinking that she could possibly be that speed of the speed, like you mentioned, and Moonage Daydream can sit just off. And with Road to Remember, I actually would like her quite a bit more if she was second off the layoff. Natalia Lynch, not great numbers off layoffs like this.
All right. See what happens in race number 2. Race number 3. Who is Maggie T? Because her first race, and we'll take a look at it, for Linda Rice, was a huge improvement for her. And while I think the rail probably was a little bit of an edge to her, I don't think it was a super duper, souped up rail. She really ran first time for her.
She did, and that's kind of a wonder where this race came from situation because this was one of the latter races on that card that day. And as you mentioned, the rail being good, I don't think it's quite that gold rail that we saw some of those other days, but I think it was a bit of an advantage. And a repeat of this performance makes her very dangerous. I'm just not confident that we're going to see it.
Yeah, Linda Rice's numbers are okay off laughs, though I did find one. I didn't put it up. Second off the claim, off a win in the dirt. Linda's just 10 for 56, 18%, $1.21 ROI. So maybe got the best of it that time out. What are we doing here with blow through yellow lights? An annoying name if there ever was one.
Running through traffic. For me, I thought that Luna Loca might face a little pace pressure to her inside with Perfect Senorita, who was a surprise winning first time out last time, as well as Dreamway 7, who was one of the few first-time starters for Always Dreaming to win on debut. And if that happened, I thought that Blow Through Yellow Lights would be the one sitting just off of those horses and get the jump on them. But if that doesn't play out that way, I don't like her quite as much.
You don't think Luna Loca's the speed?
I do think she's the speed. I think there's going to be others that attempt to be the speed.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, it does seem like Brittany Russell has won some races here recently, which is a good sign. I know Timeform US liked her last race a lot more than Beyer did. Obviously, I have her third, so I'm not really against her. I like Luna Loca. Because she has the advantage of being the outside speed, so the others want to go, she can stalk in that situation. And I thought we were finally back to a fair track yesterday. Horses ran well on the rail yesterday for the first time in quite a while, so that was a good thing to see for whatever it's worth. Last time out, going a mile, she was dueling on the inside. She couldn't go that far. The pace was quick. The time before that, she was running against better horses, also going a mile. Now she gets back to 6 furlongs. Now, the one thing that worries me is her big numbers on a sloppy track. So there is that. But she ran fast enough from a speed figure standpoint, 2 races back to win this race. And I'm going to hope she's just getting the needed class relief here. So I'll take her over Maggie T. Really no great shakes. They are the favorites in this race. To me, after the 2, 3, and 7, I just didn't see anybody else. What is your thing with Attached?
If there is a situation where there's a lot of pace on, and I know that's very rare to develop, I just thought that she would be the one coming to pick up
Wait,
pieces.
we're at Aqueduct. There's going to be a lot
know.
of pace? Okay.
No, there
Good luck
isn't.
with that. So if something happens that we know isn't going to happen, if something happens,
Wishful thinking.
I wish her race was a little bit faster because
do
that's
too.
that's a figure that not only did Beyer have low, Craig Mukowski for the Times Yes had it even worse. And that was a very bad field. So, and she was actually out in the best part of the racetrack, but a second-time starter, who knows, could improve. Kind of a sharp outfit. I won't disagree with that. Race number 4. It's kind of the knowns against the unknowns in race number 4. And to me, I think you and I did the same thing. We saw Smokin' Hot Kitty, and we'll take a look at her running second to Union Dolly, who's a Faso winner here the other day. I think we saw her as the worst to beat, but neither one of us wanted to put her on top.
And you went to your favorite pet of all the pets.
She's not my favorite pet. I got many.
Is Ice Princess your favorite pet?
No, I have many. No, Ice Princess isn't even close. But anyway, go ahead. We can discuss pets. We have a second.
With Rosemary Potatoes, I mean, she can win. She has that one.
We'll get to Rosemary Potatoes. Why don't we
Okay,
talk about the horse we're showing the replay of now,
Fine.
Smokin' Hot Kitty? I know you're obsessed with talking about my pick for some unknown reason,
It's
but
just funny that you have pets just like the rest of us. But
when have I ever said I didn't?
A fair point, indeed. But I think some people might think that you're above that, and it's just nice that you have horses.
There are a lot
that
of
you
people
have
that think a
little-
lot of idiotic things about me that
Well,
aren't true.
That's a fair point
Anyway,
as well.
should we show the replay again, and maybe we can start ranting having the race over again? I'll talk about Smokin' Hot
Why
Kitty. We
not,
both
Andy?
put second. She's the worst to beat. She was wide last time against better horses in a race that was sort of dominated with horses that were close to the inside. She's run against better horses. Her second to Union Dolly makes her the horse to beat. And I don't think there's any argument against her being the horse to beat. I think the question becomes whether or not you want to take somebody else. And either both you and I want to take somebody else. Why do you like Always Laughing?
William Morey has had some success with his turf starters that he brings over here, coming and switching off of synthetic surfaces. And she's only started once on the turf. That was a second over at Horseshoe, Indianapolis. And, I mean, she won last time out at Turfway. She's in against winners for the first time here. But I think that she might prefer to be on this surface. And his recent success with that move, I felt as though she was a live player in here. But, of course, as you already mentioned, Smokin' Hot Kitty, the one to beat.
Yeah, I thought her turf race was pretty abysmal, and she doesn't exactly have a lot of turf pedigree. And as much as I do respect a Bill Morey, I didn't particularly like the race she came out of and wonder if she's really a turf horse. But listen, she is obviously a horse that has real upside in this race. The one Heartburn, actually, I kind of was looking at because she's the speed. I found this funny stat for the trainer, who I'm not familiar with at all. 4 to 8 month layoffs on the turf. He's 5 for 11 with an 882 ROI, a number of big price in there. And this horse will be a big price, so I thought I'd throw this one in. She is the lone speed. Unfortunately, she looks a little cheap, but it's not as though her figures are that much worse than anybody else's in here. They're not exactly a killer bunch. Annihilate is another horse that's not impossible. The horse for Brittany Russell has a very wide trip in her last turf race. She ran a figure that looks fast enough to compete in her prior race when she got a much easier trip that day, and she really was just wide to nowhere in there. They're like a bird fight going on here. As far as Rosemary's Potatoes, so you know where the Rosemary Potatoes thing began. Rosemary Potatoes was on a dead rail on June 19th. And she came back on June 30th and was 15 to 1, and I made a big bet on her. And Eric Cancel absolutely buried her on the rail, and she should have won that race by open lengths. So that was the genesis of why I followed her, knowing full well I missed cashing on her at 15 to 1, and the only time I bet on her when she was supposed to win. I gave up on her after that race at Saratoga, where she had the perfect gold rail trip on August 19th, and she just really wasn't good enough. But having said that, you can joke about her, but all of those races, those mid to high 60 buyers, are as good, if not better, than anybody's figs in this race. And she's 8 to 1 morning line. In a race where people are sort of hoping, I mean, Snow Loves a Fight is the 5 to 2 second choice. What has she ever shown that she really wants to go the distance? I mean, her 65 buyer last time, she's no better than this horse, no faster than the horse that I picked in this race. And it's not like Smoking Hot Kitty is really faster, so we can joke about Rosemary Potatoes, but the reality is she's going to be a big price, and she's run nothing but races on the turf that make her competitive here. Do I love her? No, of course I don't love her here, but I think at a price, she's very playable in this race.
And just I'd pick her over Snow Loves a Fight to win this race. I think people are just looking at the Gulfstream race for Snow Loves a Fight, but I know with Rosemary Potatoes, affinity aside, that she has run some solid races. It's just a matter of if she can finally put everything together and come through at this level.
Right, but it's at a price. The thing about Snow Loves a Fight, I think she's a sprinter. She got a goofy ride in her turf debut at 6. She got a great ride from Myra Win at 7. And I know she ran okay in a pretty weak field last time down at Gulfstream Park. And I don't even know what you would call that turf course by the end of March. I was watching a replay of a horse on Sunday down there. Mm-hmm. I mean,
the patches, the
it's
patchwork,
just,
it's like a quilt. Yeah.
It really, right? It's amazing looking at that turf
It's not
course,
impressive.
or whatever they want to call it. I think they're putting in another new turf course. Is that the story?
Are they? Is that just the plan from now on with every turf course? You just
Every
redo
year.
it every
Every
year
year.
as the grass ceases to grow.
We have the secret. We have Glenn Kozak. we have the master in Glenn Kozak, and looking forward to getting back to Belmont. You've never worked for us at Belmont.
No, I've only been a couple times as a fan. So
You're
it'll
not going to be out in Siberia. You're only going to be in you're going to be in the top of the stretch, right?
I think so.
So we have people
We'll see
placed
what happens.
all over Belmont Park. Anyway, that's the first 4. Sarah and I will be back after a quick break.
Born in the foothills of the Adirondacks over 150 years ago, the Saratoga brand has become synonymous with quality. Carefully crafted spring water. Each stunning blue glass bottle is created with the same attention to detail and care that has been the Saratoga hallmark for generations. So open a bottle, take a sip, and savor the Saratoga experience. Saratoga, an American classic that's always in good taste. Make every day exquisite.
Welcome back to the bird sanctuary here on Talking Horses. Sarah, there's a very loud bird up there. That's not a pigeon.
No, no way.
No
I've never
pigeon
heard
is
a
that
pigeon
loud.
make those sounds before. It's really upset with us.
I know why the pigeon's upset. The pigeon's upset that Acacia's gone and wants Acacia to come back.
Yes.
They're really
injecting
here just
fear.
torture her anyway. Jumpster is entered, I think, tomorrow or Sunday. And that's why he's scratched out of this goof fest here.
This is my least favorite race on the card.
Really,
Is it your most favorite?
I love them all.
Equally?
I thought this was actually, it is an interesting race. What do you like about No More Talk? I agree. After this race is run, it will definitely be one of your least favorites.
Fair enough. With him, I'm looking at a lot of horses that are making a drop in class or haven't been in great form lately. And while they have some races to run back to that would absolutely bury this field, where are they? At least with him, he's been in form lately, even though that has been against hypothetically cheaper fields than this. And that was really the whole angle
We
for
call
him.
them lower level.
Lower level. Thank you for the correct
It's
vernacular.
like the crop. It's like the crop.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
we're very good in racing at lying about things. The
That's not the
problem
word
I
you
have
would
with this
use.
horse is not just, and that's a very valid point, by the way, all kidding aside. At least you've got a horse that comes off a win. And
least
there are a
he's
lot of
running.
horses, no, you're right. There are a lot of horses in this race that you might want to be optimistic they're going to run well, but their recent form is questionable.
Yes.
He had a perfect outside trip on a dead rail racetrack against a very weak field. That's my problem with him. But I'm not going to go too, I mean, got him fourth. It's not like I don't think he can win. Let's take a look at Vintage Hollywood, because there is an argument that he's kind of the horse to beat, but this is his race two back. What the heck happened to him last time off the claim for Orlando Nota? He couldn't even find any speed. This race was dominated in the front end. This is his race last time. We're showing his race two back. Like, what happened off the claim? And can we really trust him when he ran as badly as he did off the claim?
No, for me at least, and that's kind of why I have him much further down. And he's just one of those horses that I grouped into that selection that I have these questions about of what is going on with them right now, because this race makes him extremely competitive. The last race, not so much.
No. It's perfectly fair. I mean, I think doing it the right way is probably the horse to beat, dropping down for Linda Rice, second off the claim. I worked it up, 50% drops in the dirt. Linda is very good, 33% or 30% or 30, I don't know, I can't read my handwriting.
Around the
$1.78
30s.
ROI, which isn't bad when you consider they're pretty short prices. Though second off the claim, she's just 5 for 24, smaller sample size, $1.13. But it does sort of suggest when she drops like this second off a claim, it's kind of like, I made a bad claim, and I made a bad claim. And she's just trying to hope she can win and get rid of the horse and move on. And it hasn't worked out that well for her. And she didn't run well last time. She really didn't. I mean, she was out in the middle of the racetrack, didn't do much running, no one to beat. So my case for Musical Heart is, number one, David Jacobson, I find extremely random. And
Decent lately, though.
I don't know. Oh, no, he wins. I didn't say he didn't win. I just find it a little random sometimes looking at his horses.
Yes, absolutely.
The race two back is not bad. The race two back can win this race because he was involved in a very fast pace that fell apart. And the horse he dueled in there was Bourbon Bay, who finished 5 lengths behind him. And if you look at Bourbon Bay on the rail, he came back and ran 16 Beyer points better in his next start when he had a more advantageous circumstance. Now, this horse obviously didn't, but he also ran at Penn National. But if you were going to extrapolate that and say he could run much better because he was involved in that fast pace, forgetting about his Penn National race, which I know nothing about, it happened in the dark, I think he makes some sense in this race. And he is a speed, and Eric Kinsella isn't always aggressive, though he's very good when he's aggressive. But in looking this horse up, and it is on the go back, but if you go back 2-3 years, he's got plenty of races where he actually won rating. So it's not like he hasn't won races rating in the past. I don't love him either. I tend to agree with you that it's a tricky race. But I think there's a case to be made for Musical Heart, and I think he'll be a square enough price.
I agree that he'll be a square enough price, and if he does run back to some of those races that he has before, absolutely a contender. I just wasn't too sure that they would happen.
David's got perceived at 5-1, and I wouldn't want to make a line for this race, and
No.
and nobody will make a better one than David. But Rudy Rodriguez is. There are 2 trainers that are on sort of bad runs here, particularly, and that's Rudy and Todd Pletcher, where Todd has just won for 29 at Aqueduct over the last, I think, 30 days or whatever. Last win was April 2nd in the stake race. And Rudy just can't seem to win, and perceived. He's so slow, and he just I don't know. He just doesn't get it done.
I just think he fits better at this level,
He does.
but that doesn't mean much.
He ran it 2 back, and he got drowned by Cool Quartet, who was terrible last time as well. Another horse, Cool Quartet, who I liked, a number of us liked, and he never got out of any gear last time. See what happens. Race number 6, we are back on the turf at 6 furlongs, and I'm going to start by showing, for some reason, Bustin' Bullet, who I have nowhere, and you have 4th. But that's the way it goes, because it's involved with Patria. So let me ask you a question. Do you move this horse up if Patria does well?
Well, I think you must, compared to what this horse did last time, just sitting right off of her and ran a really big race there. She was 18-1 that day. She earned a career best buyer of 72 for that effort. I mean, she's generally always been a generous price in the past. So if that plays out the same way today, there's the early speed advantage as well. It's just a question of what kind of price is she going to be, and is she going to run back to this race? And if Patria doesn't do well earlier, then she kind of moves down.
Yeah, I almost wonder if there's a different argument, that this is an argument against Patria, because it's far and away the best race she ever ran. She was involved in the pace with Patria, and maybe they both sort of had the run of the race, and it makes them both look better. Now, I know Patria had that race at Saratoga where she had run well, so her race didn't come out of nowhere. But for this filly, the race sort of came out of nowhere. It was a gigantic improvement for her. Now, maybe some of it was being more aggressive with her. We'll see how aggressive Eric is. And I agree, she's supposed to be the speed of this race. We'll see. I guess it depends a little bit what our horse does, Cadenzia, and we'll get to her. In fact, why don't we talk about her? I'll let you talk about Cadenzia.
You know, this is one that stayed in the Todd Pletcher barn for a very long time and had been running against some really solid horses. I mean, if you go back, you see Evie Jets, you see Technical Analysis, you see multiple horses that then went on to win either graded stakes or listed stakes. So she was keeping good company. And then once she switched over to the Maury barn, they put the blinkers on, they let her go early, and that was a difference maker for her. And she was able to actually show some speed. And
wait a second. Let me correct you. She didn't show any speed. I think Dylan Davis, there were some rides in that race that belong in the Hall of Fame of stupidity. She went to the lead. Dylan didn't even want to go to the lead. She went to the lead because guys were just ripping the faces off their horses to get off the lead in there. But go ahead.
it was a difference than what we saw from her in the other barn.
Yeah, she won. And it didn't seem to matter who Todd ran her against. And you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right in everything you said. I mean, she kept great company. It just didn't. And then she runs a 6 furlong race. And I mean, that race, she could not lose that race on paper. And I remember being on Talking Horses and talking about it with Anthony and saying, she'll lose. And there were 2 horses that could beat her. I took the other one, I think, Misspelled Moon. And the winner paid some crazy price. I think it was a Jorge Abreu horse. They were the only horse that could possibly beat her, and she always found somebody to beat her. And then they let her walk in the lead, and I'm bitter because I made a big bet on the second horse, Harrington Rocket, a Chad Brown horse, Manny rode, that was 100 lengths the best and should have won the race. So I land on her as well as you today. One of the things I like about her is that I thought she got a very, very useful prep. She's not a dirt horse. They put her in a dirt race. They wanted to get a prep. It was before the turf season. And it's very clear to me, yeah, you want to see if she handled the dirt. But she got a really good prep because she was involved in the fast pace that collapsed, and she was right on top of it. So I think she got the right prep. I still have to be a little worried that she's kind of a loser, don't you?
I would be if she was going to be facing a group of tougher horses.
It doesn't matter, though. She loses to bad horses.
I don't think that she's lost to bad horses in her time with the Pletcher barn.
Oh, yeah, you need to look back at the horses she ran against. I know that Misspelled Moon improved. That wasn't a very
Maybe
good
in the
bunch.
later stages, but at the beginning of her career.
Yeah. But she was just a losing type. I mean,
Yeah,
she is
so
a horse who has
she's
6
not,
seconds.
She's not a huge winning type.
Right.
No, I agree with you there. I think that this is just perhaps a right field, and if she is going to show speed that she has a little bit now, she's a player.
And I think Manny will be aggressive with her, and if Eric isn't aggressive with the 8, she could really have things her own way in here. Now, that's not to say, listen, who was the horse that was on the lead yesterday, the ridiculous horse in the lead yesterday in the 7th race? Yarrow. If Yarrow can be in front in a turf sprint, anything is possible, right?
Yes.
That was a Ripley's moment. I thought No Pain. You don't have No Pain anywhere in here. Wow. I thought No Pain was very dangerous. We'll take a look at No Pain's race back in August. The last time this horse been in the turf. Second to Train to Artemis. And Train to Artemis was on a massive tear at this point. I thought this was a really good effort by No Pain, and The way Ray Handel's horse are running, you didn't think this horse was dangerous?
Not really. I mean, multiple layoff lines for this one. I just thought that Stella Mars was perhaps the better half of the two that were going out for him. I thought that she got a good trip this day, even though she ran into some good horses, getting good inside-outside split. And I know Trained Artemis is legitimate, but I just thought Stella Mars was perhaps the better one from this barn.
She may be the better horse, but is she the better horse at 6 furlongs?
It's a
We'll
fair
go right
question.
to Stella Mars. We'll take a look at Stella Mars going back to June, actually, in a race where she finished second at Theoric Race, but this was 7 furlongs and not 6. And I'm not disagreeing that she can win, but I thought she was a little better going a little bit farther.
That's fair. I mean, she would have to show that she's capable of handling this distance better than she has in some of her other races. And I also just thought that she would be coming from further off of things, but might sit a little bit closer now here if there's less distance and perhaps more pace up front, because she was very far back this day.
Well, I think she's going to be very far back in this race against her, and I think that No Pain is going to be much, much closer to the pace. So I thought tactically No Pain had a better shot. You have a lot of L's in there. It's La
The
something.
California Shipper,
Yes.
she's one that's really outrun her odds several times before. She's managed
I'll
to
say.
be hitting the board in 17 of her 32 starts, and some of these were really big prices. So to me, this was kind of a pick up the pieces type that I thought could possibly do so at an okay price. And again, for the Jacobson barn, he's done well bringing some horses over from California.
I think it's funny how you said that. She's hit the board in 17 of her 32 starts. You did that without saying she's 1 for 32.
Hit the board. It's
She
not
does
false.
feel
It's not
like
false
great
information.
Fryer super filler, doesn't she? I worry a little bit that the turf horses in California often aren't as good as our horses. That was something that bothered me. And she's not a winning type, but we'll see. That was an interesting race.
Yeah, this one was fun.
So you like this one better than the 5th race?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, a little favoritism. Don't tell the 5th race.
I thought the 7th race today was a fascinating race.
I'm going to tell all the other races.
What?
I'm going to tell all the other races. You said that.
You didn't think this was a fascinating race?
Oh, this is a fun race.
A
Yeah,
lot of horses
absolutely.
can win this race. I'm very curious what SWAT analysis will do. I know that he'll get back because it's West Point. We'll take a look at his last race. And last race was fast, but there is a significant amount of speed in here. And Trevor has the rail, and with the likes of River Dog and St. Selby, and even the horse on the far outside, Seas Get Degrees, what kind of trip can she work out from the inside?
Well, doesn't he have to go? I mean, he absolutely has to go. But
Is he fast enough even?
I was worried about this one, and I think that, at least this one has been running consistent 93 buyers, pairing both of those up for the last 2 victories, and shipping into Aqueduct, Cassie does okay. On dirt only, over the past 5 years, he's 24%, so he does well with this move. I just didn't really believe that this horse was going to get his preferred setup, and that's why I went to a horse that I thought would get the setup.
Right. We'll get to him in a second. Yeah, I'm not sure. It is a horse that unfortunately wasted half of his career running on the wrong surfaces. And had Mark just run him on the dirt where he belonged, I think he would have done a lot better and had a much better record. He's Louisiana bred. So we'll see how he does running up here. But we do see some good Louisiana breds. The problem with your top choice, Nova Rags,
That he doesn't win.
and we'll show his we're going to show his last race in February. Yeah, he doesn't win.
It is a problem.
And I know, isn't he so moto in this race? The outside closer in the race packed with speed.
He should win today. He really should, and he should have won a couple of his races.
He should have won it.
But
He had
today
some trips, too.
Yeah, but today, I mean, he's also faced some okay horses. He was on the Derby Trail for a hot second, then they cut him back a little bit. I mean, I think that this is just a race where if he's ever going to finally be a horse that is more of a winning type instead of these 5 seconds with only 2 wins, he should get the job done today.
I thought this race was a very disappointing race, the one we just showed. Steinbacher 1 was one of those random Lynn Cash horses. I get it. I didn't like his last race. That bothered me a little bit. Obviously, he can win. I've run out of patience with this horse. I can't. And I think you've also got other closing alternatives that are going to be better prices in here. One of them is Big Engine. We'll show his race 2 back. Last time out, not really a great situation, slow pace. We saw Mr. Phil wire the field. He's going to get pace to run at today, and I think he is very dangerous in here.
He's one that is capable of occasionally popping with these 90 plus buyers, but it doesn't seem to be the norm for him. He has a couple of them
Fair.
in the past, but this was one of his bigger performances. And if he gets a setup like this, look, he's completely dangerous in a
Well, he
spot
figures
like
to
this.
get a good setup, though,
He does.
doesn't he? I mean, you're picking a horse based on the setup. So the reason I like Dots Dollar for a couple of reasons. One is he's not setup dependent. He can make his own trip because he's got the speed to be close enough, but he doesn't need the lead to win. No question he had a perfect trip last time, and no question he did it against lesser horses. But Linda Rice is coming back on short rest with this horse, and he ran last time. There is no denying that was a wicked fast race he ran. And I just don't think he's going to take as much money as he should because I think people are going to think he's kind of on the cheaper side, which he may well be. But I'm going to take Dots Dollar because at least he's got the recent form here. So while I respect what you're saying about Nova Rags, I'm going to focus more on the 5 and 6, a little 7.
My only problem with Dots Dollar is that he came off of a bit of a break and popped with that huge effort last time and now wheels right back in 1 to 7 days. It was just a question of whether or not he could replicate that performance on short rest when he had had a little bit more time before. But if he does, he should win.
But I think one thing we've seen with Linda Rice is that when she brings them back on short rest, she usually does it for a purpose. She won the stake off 5 days here the other day. So I think she's striking while the iron is hot, and I think it's a positive sign that she's coming back on short rest. This is a super competitive race. It'll be interesting. I mean, I don't even think a horse like St. Selby is totally impossible in here as a speed. He has run some fast races because this is a race that has a lot of speed, but it also has horses that are pretty good.
Yes.
So I thought this was a very, very, very good competitive race. Race number 8. Start out our discussion race number 8 with my favorite horse, I'm kidding, Super Quality, who, speaking of getting caught up in speed duels last time, he got caught up in a ridiculous speed duel. Now 2 back, he ran off in 1. What do we do with this horse? Because isn't he now going to be loose? And he's definitely not hurt by the scratch or major spin.
No, it's just, do you really trust him? I mean, he
No.
was such this kind of nobody for so long in his career, and then all of a sudden he runs a huge effort like this, and he's paired.
We all have to
back-to-back
start somewhere,
wins.
Sarah.
I know we can't all be perfect all the
We
time.
all have
you
to,
know,
we're
not
all
e- not
nobodies
even
at one
you.
time.
You're right.
And then,
Maybe I'm judging him a little too harshly. Maybe
Well,
I'm being a little bit mean to Super Quality.
No, I agree with you. I mean, all kidding aside, I've picked him second. I'm scared of him because he ran fast races. He was with the racetrack. The problem I have in this race with so many of these horses, I mean, it's very hard to make our boy Cheekham, right? El Mayor, I know David wants to pray for him again, but he was in a horrendous field last time, and he should have won. Prince of Joy looks like his form may be declining, and even when he was good, he wasn't really that good. We'll leave your horse out, who I have third, and isn't impossible. And Dr. Love's also not impossible. But I think it's hard to get past those horses, though you've left him completely out, Super Quality.
I just don't trust him, and I think he's going to be a short price.
Okay. I mean, how short's he going to be? David's got him 9-2.
Well, isn't he going to be the second or third choice?
Well, he's got him a bigger. No, your horse is 8-1. What price was made? Oh, Major Spin must have been his second,
Yes,
so he's
6 to
probably
1.
lower. Yeah. Listen, I like the horse that David made the favor near Drink the Win. We'll look at his race 2 back. And then last time out, I know he was 1-5, but he got, he got wired by Winner's Laugh, who had back races to do it. I thought he'd sit second, the favorite, and I thought he'd pick him up. Do I love the fact that he's dropping off the voided claim? No, I don't love it. But you know what? Linda's made money with this horse. She claimed for 40. Horse has made almost $40,000. Horse gets claimed, wins here. She makes a little bit of money with the horse and moves on. I thought he was the right horse near. I was not creative by any stretch of the imagination.
Right. I mean, he's obviously a big player in here, and I don't have any problem with him. I picked him second, so I think that he makes a ton of sense. And while I don't love the voided claim either, and then the drop down, I think that he's easily the horse to beat in here. I just tried to get a little bit more creative with Top of the Mint, who was successful at Saratoga when the Hennig barn was not firing on all cylinders, able to get the job done that day. And I think, to me, that speaks a lot about if a horse is doing really well and winning for a barn that is kind of cold. I think it says a little bit more about them, but you could also argue just a weak field and circumstantial. I thought that he would be in a stalking trip in here and was the only one I wanted to try to use to beat some favorites.
Well, he runs that race. He can easily win. I'm going to disagree about Mark at that situation. The numbers, especially going through Belmont, have him very cold. He was in the midst of one of the unluckiest streaks. I'll give you an example of a horse in that streak, Ouster. Ouster, who's now running triple-digit buyers routinely here, had one race where he got loose before the start of the race, and they still ran him, and he ran a killer
I
field,
remember.
was wired.
The birds
Then he
remember,
ran
too.
a tough maiden race. We'll get to you in a second. Just relax. That bird's so loud you can probably hear him or her. And then he ran a race where he got nothing but trouble in the stretch. And it was, I remember talking to Mark today and saying, this is like a microcosm of the kind of meet you're having. Mark had maybe 5 or 6 races that he absolutely should have won, and he just got massively unlucky. So I get it, but I felt like Mark was not cold as much. He was cold, but he was unlucky cold.
His horses were
Some
running.
trainers, sometimes they're cold, their horses just aren't running at all.
Right, that's
I
a
think
fair
Mark's horses
distinction.
were running, and he was just getting monstrously unlucky at that point. And I don't disagree with you at all. This horse definitely could win this race. He's a fair. Mark's layoff stats are not particularly great, but I don't disagree. This horse can win. And the other ones are more damaged goods, but maybe is too. Dr. Love can win this race.
Yeah, I
For
mean,
Tom.
he's done some decent races. We haven't seen one that is particularly enticing lately, but I mean,
They're all fast enough. I mean, they're all
Absolutely.
figs that can win this race. I wouldn't discount them. And if you're right about the 1A and the 2 is a real negative drop down, has lost his form,
It's
I don't know.
those two.
There aren't that too many left. We'll see what the birds think. Apparently, they are dying to come on Talking
Big
Horses.
opinions.
We are done. It was fun. We'll have to do this again sometime. You're on the show tomorrow afternoon with Maggie.
correct. You're
You're
on
starting
today.
out with Maggie. I am on. I'm on with
Soon.
Acacia, with my good friend Acacia, and the birds, who are waiting for
Waiting for
Acacia to show
Acacia.
up. Anyhow, you need to head over to Naira Bets. I'm out of steam. Use the promo code Derby25, and we will match for $25 of your. No, we'll match for $200 your initial deposit, and we'll give you that free Derby bet. You've only got 8 days left for that, because you know, Sarah, the Derby is a week. We didn't even have time for me to
We
have
didn't
a.
even have time to talk.
No,
about
I
the
was going to
Derby.
give you a little. We were having a little discussion about the misuse of the term "wise guy." In my day, when I was playing the horses
When you
full
were a wise
time,
guy.
when there were wolves in Syracuse, as my dad liked to say, and I think Dylan Thomas was a play on that. Wise guys were smart. Wise guys were the kind of people that came up with horses off the beaten path, and they won. It's now been adopted to being the idiot horse by people on the internet, because people on the internet get everything wrong.
And you know, Forte can't be a wise guy horse.
No, he's not a wise guy horse. The wise guy horse is a smart horse in the race, so it's great. Anyway, we'll move on from that. $15 if you bet 75 or more at Aqua and Keeneland, and you opt in at Naira Bets. We're running over time. We got contests held at 5 o'clock today to sign up. Naira.com/contest. And the show's starting in 10 minutes. So we got to get out of here. 1 to 6 here at Oaklawn. Have fun. Chris Griffin, he's up next. Reprise, scratch, and changes.
Born in the foothills of the Adirondacks over 150 years ago, the Saratoga brand has become synonymous with quality. Carefully crafted spring water. Each stunning blue glass bottle is created with the same attention to detail and care that has been the Saratoga hallmark for generations. So open a bottle, take a sip, and savor the Saratoga experience. Saratoga, an American classic that's always in good taste. Make every day exquisite.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Aqueduct. Friday afternoon card. The track is fast, the turf is firm. 8 races on this Friday afternoon. Here are today's scratches and changes. Race 1 is the start of the early pick 5. The 6 is +1. Race 2, start of the early pick 4. Scratch the 8, backed by Gold. Scratch the 9, Diva Banker. Race 3, start of the pick 6, is clear. No changes. Race 4, start of the late pick 5. Scratch the 10, Banana Fanafo. Race 5 is the start of the late pick 4. Scratch the 2, Jumpster. Race 6, scratch the 9, Carbon. Scratch the 10, Icy Reply. Race 7 is clear. No changes. Race 8, scratch the 1, Catching Cupid. Scratch the 5, Major Spin. Scratch the 8, Holy Matrimony. The track is fast, the turf is firm. Early pick 5 is coming up, and it's next here at Aqueduct. Race 1, 27 minutes away. Good luck.
Experience the adrenaline-pumping, suspense-filled action of the Sport of Kings no matter where you are with Naira Bets. It's fast, easy, and secure. Download the app today and start winning with our lucrative weekly promotions, thrilling handicapping contests, and a one-of-a-kind VIP rewards program. Don't just watch horse racing, be a part of the action with Naira Bets.